Thanks for joining me today on Pastor Bob's Coffee Break. Our new travel mug with our new logo. Sanctuary with Metal Dude on it. Wear metal, we are family. And it's also a t-shirt. Let me show that to you. Pretty cool. And of course you can get that and our great coffee at Headbangers Brew in whole bean ground decaf K-cups. All of that plus our poster of the month. They will run and not grow weary, walk and not be faint. It's also a t-shirt and a mug. It doesn't get better than that. So here's where you go. WeareMetalWeareFamily.com. Dear Pastor Bob, I'm a very honest person. And when asked a question, I answer with truth, even though it may not be what the other person wants to hear. Because I don't BS people, I seem to also scare them away. I have very few friends and none that I can really be myself with. I don't want to start lying to people, but how do I find a balance that doesn't scare them away? And it is a balance, by the way. You know, there are always things that go through our heads. And sometimes when I'm talking to people, there are things that I think, I need to tell this person this, but it isn't the right time. Isn't the right situation, and maybe not my place to tell them. And just to be honest all the time kind of wipes us out, especially when we're not always ready to hear it. Sometimes that's difficult. What do I look for in a friend? Somebody that corrects me all the time? No. Somebody that corrects me sometimes, if they've earned the right to do it, yes. What do I look for mostly? Somebody who encourages me. I want to go there with you today in 1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 11. And he says, therefore, encourage, admonish, exhort one another, and edify, strengthen, and build up one another, just as you are doing. So what does that have to do with this? Well, folks, that's the foundation that we build on. Encouragement. The Bible says encourage one another even more as you see the day approaching. Encouragement. Don't always say what's wrong, but sometimes what's right. Acts of love, acts of kindness, admonish one another and exhort one another when needed, but strengthen and build up. So why encouragement? Folks, I think that the whole idea of encouragement comes from love. It comes from agape love, to be able to encourage someone no matter what. To look at their strong points and say, you know, I really like this about you. And to be honest, not just buttering them up, but to be honest and to speak truth to them. And you know, when I can accentuate my positive things, then I begin to hear you when you tell me about the negative things. And that's what my best friends do. They're not afraid to tell me things, but we've already built this foundation. And I know that they're also some of my greatest encouragers. So if you go around simply correcting people all the time, speaking truth, being honest, well, being abrasive sometimes, it's not always in place. Now, is honesty important? Absolutely. But what are you saying? How are you couching it? How are you presenting it to the other person? That's also important too. Folks, we've talked about love so many times. We've talked about agape love, loving people unconditionally as Christ loved us. If there is ever anybody that could point the finger and point out what we're doing wrong, it's God. You know, God could sit in heaven and say, I saw that. Don't do that. You messed up over there. It's not what he's doing. He says, I love you, I love you, I love you. I've given you my word that gives you a foundation to live on. But even though, let's go through this. Let's teach, let's encourage, exhort when needed, but exhorting in love. And you see, that's our biggest example. Jesus is the biggest example of how to love people. And the way that he loved people, even those that he could have pointed the finger at and said, you're a horrible person, you did this wrong. He always loved them first, and whatever he had to say to them, they were able to accept at that point. So folks, love is still the key. And just exhorting people because you're just being honest isn't really the way to do it. And this person says, when asked a question, I answer with truth, even though it may not be what the other person wants to hear, but is it what they need to hear? So many times I think of things that I would like to say to people, but it isn't the time, isn't the place, and it isn't the love that I need to share with them at the moment. And when we've established that kind of relationship, we can begin to do that. But it's not about just being brutally honest and scaring everybody away. You wouldn't like that either. It's about laying a foundation for friendship. I hope that helps. Can I just say the coffee tastes better in this mug? It does. Folks, don't forget, you are blessed. So go and be a blessing.